Hello and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. I recently shared with you a book by Ivan Sanderson, and it was published in 1937. He was collecting specimens for natural history museums, and many of the animals were shot, and then taxidermists would fix them up so they could take them back that way to these natural history museums. 1937. It was a little while before this book was published. It was called The Overloaded Ark by Durrell, or Gerald Durrell. And it's an Englishman as well. Both were Englishmen. Durrell went to the same part of the world, the Cameroons, the jungles there, and did his collecting there. But he didn't shoot the animals. He collected them, fed them, put them in cages, and then brought food as they were shipped back to England for use in zoos, to be placed in zoos where people could see them live. And the book was a real success from my point of view, in that there was a lot of humor and just a sense of the people as well as the animals. So I've got two editions of it, both with a mandrill on the front. So we haven't really come to chimpanzees quite yet. Then a few years later, 2 years later, Gerald Durrell publishes a book in which 3 of his collecting adventures was put together in one book. So he's got some of the things that were in this book. He's edited it and changed it and to put it into this book, as well as 2 other adventures, one in Guyana and one in Paraguay. And then 5 years later puts out this book. And again, this one primary chimpanzee called Chumley, which had a full chapter in this book, and an abbreviated telling in this book, is mentioned again in this book. One thing leads to another. This is a picture of a bush baby, and on the cover, and this is a book called The Bush Baby. It was that was the name. The original book came out, it was called The Bush Babies, but in this case, a film was made of that. But this book, the wording in this book, the wording as well as the illustrations are the same. Now, 1960. Well, a few years go by, not many, 7 years go by, and My Friends the Wild Chimpanzee is published by National Geographic, and it's I get a hold of an early copy of it, and it's an amazing. And here there are some illustrations, but mainly it's the use of photographs. So you don't have to take the animal from its natural habitat, you photograph the animal. And over a period of time, Jane Goodall studied, got accepted. It was a long transition, but she got accepted by a group of chimpanzees, a family of chimpanzees. So she wrote this book, and it was a startling approach to learning about the animals. They're not being brought back to be part of a zoo and entertain people or to be cataloged or something. They're to be looked at more or less eye to eye. So that book, I got a hold of a book that she wrote later about her life. My Life with the Chimpanzees. And both these books were fascinating. I read almost all of it to my grade 5, 6 class, or my grade 4, 5 classes, and I left the last little bit out. Well, a few years later, she does a revised edition, and she leaves that last bit out too, but she adds more about what's happened in her life and her dream of protecting the chimpanzees. Someone else has taken information about her and written a biography, For the Love of Chimps. The person's name is Martha Kendall. Now, Jane Goodall has established almost a recognizable name around the world for her work. So she was putting out books on Animal World was a series, and of course one of the books was the chimpanzees. But she wrote on each of the different animals, and this is the chimpanzee family book. Again, there's charming pictures, and here's one called Jane Goodall with Love. It's 10 stories that she wrote about the chimpanzees in the wild, illustrated by Alan Marks, who does a wonderful job. Here's Jane Goodall, The Chimpanzees I Love, Saving Their World and Ours. Well, that saving the world of the chimpanzees became a concern, brought to their attention a bit by Jane Goodall's work and others. So a publisher got together with the people and said, let's highlight some of these endangered species. And Patricia Bowe brought up what's being done to help save the chimpanzee. It's a fascinating book. Now, here's someone that's done same thing. She was there in person. She took notes. She made tracking the wild chimpanzees. And I'd like to say I could pronounce her name without making a mistake, but I can't. So if you can see it, first name is Joyce. I'm okay with that. Powzyk. And maybe I'm just scared off with that Z and all, but here's a person whose name I think I'll risk. Layne Amon. A-M-O-N. Reading, Writing, chattering chimps. Now, we've got natural history museums, we've got zoos, we've got in the wild, and we've got in laboratories. Until next time when we're going to have a look at the gorilla. Bye for now.